This is Tangled Roots and Alter Brewing's collaboration from January 2020, High and Tight. It's a 10% barley wine, and it says, looking for that classic drink that rarely goes out of style? Brewed with our friends at Alter Brewing Company, this barley wine is swirling with caramel and toffee flavors. We stuffed our lauterton to the brim with malts to create this luscious beer. Trust us, it was a tight fit. Now, it's your turn to fill up your glass. Well, I'm going to talk to Nick at Barrel Society in Princeton, Illinois. We're going to fill up our glass and see how well this has held up after 5 years.
Drink it or dump it.
Greek, no, it's definitely not Southern. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Drink It or Dump It. I'm here at Barrel Society with Nick Gorogianis.
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks for taking the time.
Good to see you, Cletus.
I'm so excited because there's a lot of people, I think, who might be seeing this who have yet to come to Barrel Society.
Yeah.
And I am so happy to have this close by. I remember someone describing this as the Fountainhead of Princeton. And I don't know if you've ever heard that, but I take that as a huge compliment to what you're doing here.
That's the ultimate compliment. I'll absolutely take that any day of the week. Yeah, it's great.
I'm interested to know how this whole thing got started. Where are you from originally?
So I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, Lombard to be exact. Then my family, halfway through my childhood, moved to Bloomingdale, Illinois, which is northwest suburb. I went to high school in Addison, Illinois. I went to college in Monmouth, Illinois, which was how I became affiliated and accustomed, I guess, to this area. A lot of my friends in college were from Bureau County, either Princeton, Manlius, all these surrounding towns. So I was coming out here to drink beers and whiskey with them and hang out, and I just fell in love with small towns from there.
Where did the inspiration come to open up a whiskey and beer bar?
So the only thing I ever wanted to do professionally in my life was be a bartender. And after graduating college with a double major in music media and public relations, I was talking to my folks and I'm like, I really want to be a bartender. And they're like, why the hell would you want to do that? You got these degrees, you should pursue that. So kind of steered me off that course for a little while. And I bounced around job to job a little bit after college, got into construction for almost a decade. But I was traveling in all my downtime, both domestically and internationally. And my favorite thing to do was either going to a different state or city, different country, was to experience their bar culture, what these people were drinking, what they were eating, and just getting into conversation with people and in places that I was completely unfamiliar with. So Barrel Society ultimately is a culmination of all of that.
And you opened, was it 2019?
St. Patrick's Day of 2019.
Okay. And what was the bar culture like in Princeton at that time?
So Princeton's always had a really cool bar culture. More, a dive bar kind of aesthetic, but also very, very welcoming. So I wanted to maintain that community and, family aesthetic here, but I wanted to bring something ultimately different. Our whiskey selection is massive. It's one of the biggest in the Midwest. We have just over 700 different whiskey options. We have a massive, massive passion for handcrafted cocktails. So with that said, on top of our 100 plus, beer list, we wanted to bring something different to Princeton, something that can be a bit of a cultural shift, but also maintain that super important family and community dynamic that they have.
And I think that you do that incredibly well. When people walk into Barrel Society, you make them feel like they're family. They're everyone's welcome.
Yes.
And it's great to see a diverse crowd here.
Absolutely.
When you opened Barrel Society, what was your original vision? Because you talk about 700 whiskeys.
Yeah.
I know you can't just jump out the gate with that, right? So what was your opening statement and goal right away versus the long-term plan?
So the short term was ultimately to introduce Princeton and the surrounding towns of the community to our culture and what we had to provide. Obviously, like you said, we weren't couldn't financially put 700 bottles of whiskey, world-class whiskey on the wall, and especially make it through a pandemic, putting all that money out there. But when we started with about 30 to 40 beers, 30 to 40 different beer options. We've always had only 6 tap options because we like to keep the beer as fresh as possible. Tap list is always changing. Then the whiskey, we started with about 45 to 50 options. And
it's still a lot when you open your doors.
Yeah, and whiskey has always been my biggest passion. I love beer with all my heart, but whiskey was kind of my main focus along with the cocktails, and I wanted to turn Princeton into a whiskey drinking community.
How's that gone for you?
It's going really well, actually. There's people that would come in at first and would always just gravitate towards beer, or they love our cocktails, and I'm like, that cocktail you're drinking it's a rye cocktail or a bourbon cocktail, and I'm like, should try something. I'm like, well, what do you recommend? And that's my favorite part of my job, is when a customer will come in and ask me what I recommend for them. That's a great way to get into an awesome conversation with somebody new or a long-term customer and get them to trust your opinion. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, this guy does know what he's talking about, and they'll describe their palate to me, the things that they like and don't like, or they might be a little, standoffish towards. So I find something that I think would be perfect for their palate.
Do you have any gateway whiskeys that you are set to go to when okay, this person's new, whether it's a rye or bourbon or whatever the case may be? Do you have a set in your head that you like to go to? Is like, here's a gateway, because if you like this, then it opens the door to this, and that.
So I find, for me, big, for a bourbon drinker, somebody that's interested in bourbon, I will send them towards, if I'm like, well, I think they might want to go down that, more straightforward Kentucky route of bourbon, I always point them towards Johnny Drum from Willett. It's 100 proof, non-age stated, but just a beautiful whiskey, as my one of my bartenders, Jesse, constantly describes it as cinnamon red hots and Swedish fish are his tasting notes on it. And
interesting.
That's Jesse's go-to whiskey.
Jesse's go-to palate is candy that you would buy in a movie theater.
Jesse loves candy and going to the movies, so that's perfect.
Was there one beer that you can remember that made you say, it kind of spun you into the rabbit hole of craft beer?
Absolutely. The first time, well, let's start with the first one that threw me out of the realm of craft beer. I was at Bonnaroo Music Festival, of all places, in 2004. Okay. A lot of my friends were really into the jam band scene, and I was more into the activities surrounding the jam band scene. So I was like, I'll go check this out. I like to party, so I'm looking at all these. I'm a kid from the suburbs. At that time, I didn't have long hair, dreads, a beard or anything then. And I'm looking at all these like old heads drinking. This is 2004, drinking this stubby, fat little bottle with this cool green label, and it was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. And again, this is 2004 Bonnaroo, and I think they were charging like $10 a bottle for it there. And I think the Budweisers were like $6. No, they were still expensive, dude. You know, even for 2004. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna splurge on this bottle. And dude, I took one sip and I was like, what the hell is this, dude? And, you know, I was, dude, 19. Yeah, I was like 19 at the time. So my palate was not accustomed to anything bitter at that time.
Was that exciting to you, or was it off-putting?
Dude, at that time I really was thirsty. So no, it wasn't. It was off-putting, terribly off-putting. And now, you know, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is one of my mainstays. It's one of my absolute all-time favorite beers. But to go back, you know, do a little 180 on what's the beer that really got me into drinking craft beer, it was Delirium Tremens. Also in college, just a couple years later. I loved, you know, that classic Belgian aroma of the beer, and you know, at that age, you know, I was like freshly 21. And I was like, whoa, I was like, this is what, 9% or something like that? That's crazy. I can drink a few of these and I'm feeling awesome. But that's a beer that always, and the Pink Elephant is iconic. You know what I mean?
Michael Roper and I were talking about Hefeweizens and the first time you ever have a Hef, how that blows your mind with all the, you know, those banana esters and the Belgian yeast and just everything and how different that is. Delirium Tremens, I think I had the first time at the Hop Leaf, probably in the late 90s.
Nice.
And I remember that served in that goblet with the Pink Elephant. And then after one, I was like, what's going on here? I want to transition into the beer I brought today. And then this is going to jump into a conversation about collaboration. So this is High and Tight. Have you seen this?
I've not.
This is Tangled Roots over in Ottawa, kind of why I brought it here. But I also brought it because it's a collaboration with Alter Brewing. So this is from January of 2020.
Okay.
So we're a year into Barrel Society, not even when this was brewed.
Correct. 2 months shy,
So let's see, what do you think this is going to taste like? You never had this beer before?
I've not had that beer, but I've had my fair share of barley wines in my life.
5 years old, I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Maybe
carbonation. Yeah, little carb in there. I'm gonna guess, you know, some malt sweetness, you know, a little caramel, but we shall see. Color looks nice.
Color looks nice.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of carbonation, but hey, cheers.
Yeah, cheers to you, man.
A little oxidation as expected.
Kind of like a grape must note.
Definitely the caramel.
Okay,
it smells like a barley wine. There's no doubt about it.
Let's dive in. That held up pretty well, I think. It's actually, what's the ABV on that?
10.
Wow.
Surprising.
It's light.
It is very light. It's light.
Clean.
It's light in every sense of the word. It's not a very heavy or syrupy mouthfeel. It doesn't feel hot. It doesn't taste like a 10%er.
No. I would say this is for a newbie to barley wines, this would be a good entry. You know, this is a very safe,
tame, very tame barley wine. I would agree. I would probably drink it. What do you think? I don't think I would dump it.
Absolutely not. I would drink this.
And speaking of collabs, I've noticed, are doing all kinds of collabs from beer to single barrels. Where does that come from? Is it just wanting to partner with people?
It's all about community for me, man. Like, that's the coolest thing I think we can do, especially in this industry, but you know, spanning to a lot of other businesses, is collaborating and supporting each other. You know, it's really important. I think it's such an old school mindset to, you know, view anybody else, that even in your own town, like there's other bars and breweries in town here that we love to work with and partner with restaurants in town, restaurants around here. Like, we don't view it as competition. It's friendship, you know, and we're all in this together. We love, you know, having our family and customers come in here and be like, oh yeah, we just popped over to the Princeton Inn for a drink before this, and they said to come over here. We went to Coal Creek Brewing for a couple beers, and they sent us this way, and you know, that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? The better off we all are together, the better off we all are individually, and you know, you feed off each other, and it's a great thing. Community is what's most important to us. You know?
What do you have coming up this year that you're excited about?
Mine and my wife's 2-year wedding anniversary. It's
Congrats.
very exciting. Gwen was a huge part of Barrel Society. So when I met Gwen in August of 2018, hit things off right away, and I started talking to her. This probably September, just probably a few weeks after we started dating, about this idea that I had, and she was like, "You should do it." So in a very short time period, we uprooted our lives from, we were living in we had a condo in Roselle, Illinois, and sold it, and we moved to Princeton officially 2 days after Christmas in 2018. We brought in Dale. Dale was a customer, and he hadn't bartended before, but he was really passionate about beer, and would always come in and be asking me about beers, what I would recommend to him, and just hearing him talk about them, and him coming in the next day, he's like, "Oh man, I was reading up on this brewery." And he's like, "That's really crazy, you know." Like, he's like, "Oh, what's the difference between Citra hops and Mosaic hops and all this stuff?" I'm like, what the hell is this dude doing, you know? And then he
Nerding out.
he was nerding out, and he's just a very passionate guy.
And you can't teach that kind of passion. Like, you either have it or you don't.
Exactly.
You can teach him how to work the sticks. You could teach him books. You could teach him anything.
Yeah.
But you can't teach that
You
excitement.
can't teach love and passion,
Right.
and Dale is one of the most genuine people, and that's one thing people really love about him.
Let's talk about the bottle shop for a minute.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
the selections in the bar are available in the bottle shop?
Not all of them. As you saw, that room is probably like 12 feet wide by like 20 feet long,
You
maybe.
stock it
And
to the brim.
it's stocked. But no, I don't have 700 plus whiskey options back there. But we do always have about 100 different types of super fresh beer from all over the Midwest, all over the country. You know, we don't have we do love to focus on local as much as we can, but our ultimate focus is quality and freshness. You are looking at stock that we will use for the bar, but it's also available for purchase. But our main thing I love about the shop, and our big focus there, is because we have such a passion for traveling around the country and picking single barrels of whiskey. That's just a great place to have them. You know, that's our main focus back there. We have a really wide selection of single barrels that we've picked.
Well, we had High and Tight
Yeah,
rated a Drink It.
drink it.
Barrel Society in Princeton, Illinois. Take the train, I walk, bike. I say don't drive here because it's rough getting out of here.
If you do drive,
If you do it right.
have a DD. That's what I would absolutely suggest.
Well, thanks, Nick.
Yeah. Cheers, Cletus.
Thanks for your time.